Thank you. Okay. Thank you for coming, guys. And I think contrary to what James said, I am not cool.
Good morning, Creative Mornings. How's everyone doing? Everybody's awake? Yeah? I know it's early, right? Is everybody ready to have a bit of fun? Because this is not going to be like a boring PowerPoint presentation. I promise you. So as you know, we are Roar. A small part of Roar, actually. Our team is much bigger. We are an all-girls team. I know. Exactly.
Sorry, guys.
Girl power, exactly. Which is amazing. These are a bunch of amazingly strong, talented women. We're so proud of our team. And we're here today to talk to you about the 5 lessons that we have learned setting up an all-girls studio in the Middle East. But obviously this can be applied to any studio, female only or not. And we're really happy to be here. Thank you so much to all the volunteers. I know this is all put on by volunteers, and we really are very grateful to be invited to be here today.
Okay, so, I grew up here. 30 kilometers down the road in Sharjah. And I always thought that was a bit of a disadvantage. So this is my connection to roots, right? I always thought, I'm not sure I went to the right university. And every time I graduated with architecture from AUS right here. And every time I'd travel, I'd be like, guys, I'm from Dubai, because I started working in London. And they're like, all right, so...
brunch, party, repeat, right?
That's what you do, right? And then I'd say, what? You live in Dubai? What color's your G-Wagon? And I'm like, sorry, I'm just a struggling architect. I can't afford a G-Wagon yet. But jokes aside, I just want you to watch this short clip. This is Sheikh Abador. And we're an SME, and there's so much more to the UAE and Dubai than the brunching culture. It's on Max. It's on Max. So that's some really interesting stats. 30% of SMEs are run by women, just like Catherine and me. We have 9 female ministers right here in the UAE, which is the highest stat worldwide. And 70% of university graduates are women. And I think even in this room, I can see there's a lot more women than men. No offense, men.
No. So let's go into the first lesson that we've learned setting up the studio in the Middle East. The first thing is that discrimination, it exists and it is everywhere.
And we're not just talking about racial discrimination here. If you just look at creative directors, right? That's our field. We're an architecture interior design studio. Only 1 in every creative director is a woman. Now that's quite a sad stat.
Absolutely. Does anybody else get this? We get this all the time, especially the blonde hair. It really doesn't do me any favors whatsoever.
Does not.
But you're either one or the other. You can't be assertive, a leader. You have to be a bitch or a bimbo.
Yeah, and I don't know, anybody else had this in their career? Any of the women? Yeah? Because I'll go on site, I'll boss a couple of, guys around. I'm not bossing them around. I'm just telling them to do their job properly. I'm being assertive. But definitely, I'm a bitch. And obviously, when Catherine walks in with her pink hair sometimes, bimbo, forget about her. She used to run JLL's marketing department, but that's what she gets.
Who's seen this movie, read this book?
Yeah?
So the female writer of the script was getting paid 1/10 of the male co-writer. That's crazy, right? In today's day and age, 1/10 of the male salary just because she was a female. She contributed equally to the story. So he came out and said, I will give some of my pay to her. But why should our salary be dependent on the generosity of the men that we're working with?
Yeah.
Not cool.
Not cool. I'll tell you a personal story, right? Like back in the day when I was a senior designer at one of the leading practices in the UAE, we had a very high-profile client, can't name the name. And I went to the meeting and she introduced me to everybody as her Italian designer. And I did a double take. I was like, no, sorry, I'm Indian, 100% Indian. She's like, no, you're Italian, right? I was like, no, Indian. And then she's like, oh yeah, you're British, right? Because your husband's British. I was like, no, I'm Indian. And she just couldn't stomach it. She loved me, but she didn't want me to be Indian. I was like, dude, this is who I am. I'm brown.
Do you have any Indians in the room? Oh, a few. Okay.
Oh, yeah,
okay.
sorry. Me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So your hand up. You're Indian.
Sorry.
Exactly. Yeah.
Indian.
So the Indians may understand this. I am married to a Tamil Brahmin. Yeah, oh, exactly. That's what his mother said when he told her that he was marrying me. So discrimination is not just about gender. You know, Tamil Brahmins, when you look back at the antiquated caste system in India, the Tamil Brahmins were sort of the top of the food chain. So Tamil Brahmins are supposed to marry Tamil Brahmins. I could not be further from a Tamil Brahmin. I'm not sure if you can tell, but you know, obviously now nicely accepted into the family, but it was not good at the start.
Yeah.
Just have a minute and read this quote. This is a Brené Brown quote. Anybody a fan of Brené Brown?
Yeah.
So I think the lesson from our first lesson is that discrimination is real. Obviously, things are changing. We're all trying to move things forward. But really, it's how you handle it and how you deal with it that is a true testament to you. So let's accept it. It's there. There's ageism, there's sexism, there's racism. It's how you deal with it that's really going to set you apart.
Yeah. So lesson number 2, like, okay, when I started the company about 6 years ago, you know, it could have been, oh, who is she? Where does she come from? What has she done? I said, you know what? I'm just going to block out all this nice and I'm going to focus on my craft. And I read this amazing book sort of 10 years ago even. It was Be So Good That They Can't Ignore You. So forget about discrimination, forget about the color of your skin, forget about the fact that you're a woman architect in a man's world. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to focus on what I do. Last year, or 2 years ago now, sorry, it's 2020,
yeah.
We delivered this project for the Prime Minister's office, right? It's architecture and interiors, all done for us. And it was brilliant because we got published in all of this international media, we got the awards, we got the pat on the back, we're like, oh my God, everybody knows who we are now, this is awesome, all that hoopla. But that's kind of not why we do what we do.
Absolutely. We do it for, you know, we always say we're designing experiences for the people that use the space. So at the end of the day, we get our real pat on the back when we know that people have occupied an environment that we have designed and that they just love being there and that it ticks all the boxes that they're looking for in a space that they're occupying.
Yeah, and it goes back to the fact that that's all we did. We just focused on our craft. I'm just going to very quickly run through some of the imagery. We're a multidisciplinary practice. So we do everything from sort of offices to hotels to schools. But what comes through in each of these projects? First of all, we don't have a design style, right? We never say Roar as an interior design architecture studio is minimalist or is maximalist. It's just about that experience. And for us, really, when you focus on our craft, it just comes through in everything you do. This is just a little video clip of one of the restaurants we completed 2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Al Ravi, which is the first of its kind. It's a book cafe and a restaurant. So we also push kind of the boundaries with programming, not just when a client comes to us and says, design a restaurant. We're like, hey, what if you added a book cafe in there? Because we kind of like reading.
Sometimes clients don't know what they want. You know, you have to tell them what they want sometimes. And I think that really comes into the work. Lesson 3. Work the media. You have to work the media to your advantage. Does anyone here run their own studio? No one? Well, even
has a personal brand. All of you have a personal
everybody
brand,
has
right?
a personal brand.
You all have a personal brand.
Exactly. So I think this is something that's so important whether you run your own studio or not, or you're just trying to build yourself up in your own career. And when we talk about media, we're talking about traditional media, we're talking about social media, and we're talking about digital media. All of them are really important.
Yeah. So here's the thing, right? It's all well and good. Catherine and I stand here and say, hey, we're the best design studio in Dubai. You should come and like hire us and we should design everything for you. But what's better is third-party endorsement, right? And when I started the studio six years ago and Catherine joined me, 7 now, God,
yeah.
It's 2020, I keep forgetting.
Yes.
7 years ago, and Catherine joined us about a year and a half ago.
Yep.
The most important thing on our agenda was like, first of all, it's not just us telling you we're great, we want other people. So if you do a quick Google search on my name or on Row, we've been published in books. And these are not just local magazines. These are international publications, which is best in class of office design, restaurant design, hospitality. But this takes a lot of work, right? Yeah. So very often, you know, I'll get the comment, oh my God, Pallavi, you're overexposed. I open Architecture Digest and there you are. I open Harper's and that's where you are. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I don't have a marketing budget. I am my marketing budget. If I don't do this and if I don't pose and try and look decent in these pictures, you know, no one's going to know who we are. So, you know, it's not narcissist. It's just I got to get our name, our studio's name, my personal brand out there.
Absolutely. It's good business sense. You know, a lot of people sort of feel shy about doing it, and it is stuff that has to be done after the normal working hours, after your day job, sitting there thinking of good topics to write articles about, to, you know, send out to publications. But at the end of the day, media is always looking for content. So if you have something interesting to say, you have a really good chance that it will be picked up by one of the design publications.
Yeah, and James mentioned my husband before, right? So he's a radio celebrity, but he'll never let me come on his show because he says that's nepotism and that's not cool and whatever. So I found another radio station. I've been on BBC.
We got all the others, yeah.
In Sharjah, so I'm just like, you know what? You can't keep me down.
So when we go to interesting conferences or talks, often we'll sort of stalk the, the main
designers.
speaker. You know, we'll just sort of follow them around and ask them to do an interview with us. So we started a YouTube channel where we put these interviews out there. Again, we get the opportunity to go to some of these things and to share that knowledge and bring it back into the community. We think is really cool. Obviously, as well, everybody's an Instagram influencer now, right? Including Pallavi. This is a new revenue stream for our business. So there are brands that want to partner with you when you have a decent following that, want to use your personal brand to their advantage. So, I've done multiple campaigns for, LG Signature Range, Cadillac, other brands to really help get our brand out there.
And I think the important point is it's not Catherine and me. Oh, look at her new shoes. I mean, she loves her shoes and she loves her bags,
Love shoes,
know.
Yeah.
But we're not doing that. We're like, okay, if you're going to be an Instagram influencer, it's about creating good content. And that's what we do with kind of these star designers. It's our way of giving back.
Awards. Always sort of an interesting topic because we know that industry awards, they have their place. But you also have to take them with a grain of salt to a certain extent, because we know, especially the awards here, there's often local judges, there's some politics that come into it. But clients do love to work with a studio that has won some awards.
And as you can see Catherine's face on that image,
I was very excited.
Loves a good award.
I love a good award. I love a good award. Very excited. So, I think we have to make sure that these things are also really time consuming, just like writing articles for media. We spend hours doing our award submissions, usually late at night. But again, it does pay off. It pays off. It gets your name out there. It gets people to know who you are.
Yeah, but not always.
It doesn't always work out.
Good segue into lesson number 4. Fail. Fail often and forget the haters. So, we have equal amounts of fun winning and losing. This is the last awards we lost. James Corden, watch out. The two of us are taking over.
We lost every award that night.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
It wasn't quite as fun as winning, actually. It was fun, but it wasn't as fun, I would say.
No. I think the winning was much better.
So another Brené Brown quote, because we love her.
We love her.
Obviously, you're going to get feedback from lots of people.
Especially if you're an Instagram influencer.
Everybody wants to tell you their opinion. And that's cool, but unless you're also in the arena getting your ass kicked alongside us, we don't really care what you have to say. Sorry. If you're also in it, if you're doing it, if you're in the daily grind, also pushing, trying to build something, you're down in the mud, okay, constructive feedback is always good, but everybody will have something to say, and it's just filtering through what you take on board and what you leave.
And so for me, sort of on a personal level, this has been a huge learning because I'm an incredibly sensitive, insecure, imposter syndrome kind of human being. So for me, if anyone says, I'm not sure about the shoes, I'm like, you don't like my shoes? Does that mean you don't like the restaurant I just designed? Because I chose the shoes and I designed that restaurant. And Catherine's very much on the opposite spectrum. She's like, I love you. That's all that matters. And for me, it's kind of reading that Brené Brown book and just understand it's really just 5 people. And you choose those 5 people whose opinions matter and just stick with that. Just run with it. So, as Catherine said, we launched this YouTube channel. And I was in Mumbai, which is my home city. I've never lived there. I grew up here, as you know, in Sharjah. And I went to Dharavi, which is like Asia's 2nd largest slum. And I went there to source materials that I would use in my new product for Milan this year. And I was like, oh, this is great. I'm learning so much from this process. Let me do a quick video, put it on Instagram, and share it with everyone. Because, I'm learning something. You might learn something. So, people are just like, oh my God, you're romanticizing the slums. What are you wearing? Why those glasses? Why that dress? I'm like, dude.
became very personal, you know, like it was,
yeah.
you know.
And they were just like, you know, like, what do you know about Indian culture? I was like, I'm Indian. Ask that client, you know, she knows I'm Indian too.
Yeah.
But, you know, like, so again, going back to the fact that I'm an extremely sensitive person, I was just like sitting there responding to everybody. It's like, well, don't say that about me. You know, I'm like this. And it's emotionally draining and exhausting. And I thought, instead of going and responding to all of that, I thought, you know what? I'm just going to like channel my inner Taylor Swift, and I love this song.
Tay Tay.
Everyone has an opinion. Hey.
She's very wise, Tay Tay.
She's very wise. Pop princess.
Very
you know,
wise.
who knew? Who needs psychologists when you have Taylor Swift? So I just love what she says, and it goes back to that Brené Brown quote. If you're not in the arena getting kicked, and if you're not able to come and have a constructive criticism feedback with somebody else, and you're just saying it on tweets and Instagram, it doesn't really count. It doesn't.
Okay, lesson number 5.
A final one.
We made it, guys. High five. Be a great storyteller. So storytelling is one of the oldest human traditions that we have. And the reason that telling stories works is because it creates an emotional connection with the person that you're speaking to. Rather than facts and figures, telling something in a story creates that sort of emotional language that people really find very memorable.
Yeah, and now obviously we're a creative design studio, right? And you can apply storytelling to any job that you do, right? So for us, when we rebranded 2 years ago, we were called Pallavi Dean Interiors, very narcissist. And I thought, oh, hang on a second, there's other talented people that worked when I was a freelancer. We rebranded to Roar. But it wasn't just like, hey guys, we've changed our name to Roar. We created this whole campaign. We've superimposed the eyes of our designers on top of big cats. And we just made it really fun and engaging. And, you know, we built up the suspense of 3 years.
That's a very long branding campaign. Yeah.
3 months. And everybody really got excited and engaged. They were like, just like, what's your new name? What's it going to be called? So that's kind of one example of how we tell stories, but also kind of when we pitch our work. So this is Shira. Shira is a not-for-profit entrepreneurship center, and we were designing a space very similar to this Nest space here. It's a co-working space. But what we did was we created like this little comic strip, and our clients were actually drawn and featured in this comic strip. And when they opened our presentation, they were just like, oh my God, that's me. And they connected instantly with the design, because it wasn't us, you know, for us, we're not selling you something tangible. I'm not selling you a watch. I'm not selling you shoes. We're selling you a design, which is not tangible. So for us to create and generate ways for people to connect with that story is very, very important. And these are just some finished images of that same space.
So the other thing that we do is we created for an office client, we have our own process, a very in-depth briefing process, which is called user experience design, because again, it all comes back to the experience of the user of the space. But for this particular office, they had lots of different user groups. So there was creatives, there was suits, you know, and they all wanted different things from the space. So for this, instead of just sort of saying, okay, you guys will be on this side of the office, you guys will be here, we created what we called cultural neighborhoods. And we named them after areas, for example, in London, like Hackney and Soho, et cetera, et cetera. So everybody could identify with an area in the office that kind of resonated with them from an environmental branding perspective.
Yeah. And again, just another point of storytelling. That was one way. But it's really important. And okay, now we're sharing examples because we're a design studio and this is how we work. But all of us has a personal brand. And before I started the company, I was the personal brand. And I spent a lot of time kind of building that personal brand. So this is like a furniture line that I'd done about 4 years ago. But it's called Tension, the furniture line. And it was all about kind of this tension between the three cultures that influenced my life. I'm Indian, but I grew up in UAE. I'm not Emirati. My entire family is British. I'm still Indian. So, you know, it was just creating that story of tension and then having a physical product that actually became the result of it. Last year at Milan Design Week, I launched a light. And again, listen, there's about 1,000 lights designed every year, put out in a product. You know, I'm just adding to the waste. But why this light got picked up by one of the largest lighting brands is because it had a really good story. So it was a anti-Brexit and an anti-Donald Trump light, and I said it was all about connections. Okay, quite a tenuous kind of link there, but that really did inspire me. I was just like, in a world where everybody's building walls, I wanted a light to be super fluid, and you can create your own design. So as designers, sometimes we're a bit like bullies. We're like, here's a chair, here's a light, deal with it. This is my design, and you're gonna just live with it. But this light allows you to kind of change things up, thread that little weave how you want it, and giving the user the flexibility. And like for me, again, going back to the topic of roots, I'm just a girl from Sharjah, okay? I'm just like a nobody. But then a big lighting brand like Arte Mide, which has people like Zaha Hadid. Now, these names might not make sense to you, most of you, but they're like architects, okay? They're like the biggest cheese in our industry. So going back to the fact that I always felt my degree is not good enough. I don't think I have enough international exposure. This was kind of like the moment where I thought, okay, I've arrived now. Someone's going to find me out tomorrow. But for now, I've arrived.
One thing that's really important, though, about building a personal brand is that it's authentic to you. Because, these days there's a lot of talk about authenticity, but really I think it does shine through when you are doing something that really does hold true value to you personally. So giving back is one thing that I think for us as a studio is something that, we've always been invested in. As we said, Pallavi's always taught at universities. We have university groups come to our studio. We really try and give back through sort of the education system, making sure that we're trying to help of designers that are coming out of school. So that's something that's very authentic to us as a studio and something that we'll always do. So I think it's about finding what you are passionate about and what you really feel like you can contribute back into the society.
And that's a really good point, right? So I was a scholarship student when I couldn't afford to go to university. So for me, that's why education is the only way that I can think of giving back. I'm just like, you know what? I have so much now. If I can kind of sacrifice my time, do stuff like this, okay, part of it, but also go back to university and teach. It's my way of giving back. Now, running might be your thing. Like if anybody said to me, sign up for a 10K run and, raise some money, I'd just be like,
no way.
Yeah, hell no, not happening. No skills, no skills for that.
So let's go back and just quickly recap the 5 lessons that we have learned. First of all, discrimination is real. It really matters how you deal with it. That counts.
Shut out the noise and just focus on your craft, whatever that is. Marketing, sales, design, hustling, whatever that is.
Work the media to your advantage, whether it's your studio's brand or your personal brand, social, digital, traditional media, it really can work to your advantage.
As cliched as it is, just don't be afraid to fail. It happens to all of us, and really block out that noise of the haters.
And last but not least, be a great storyteller, because we all know that, a deck of PowerPoint slides with graphs and charts hopefully, would not have been anywhere near as interesting as our presentation is today.
Or Taylor Swift.
Or Taylor Swift, a bit of Tay-Tay.
Now, I don't know if any of you will resonate with this, but this is kind of, I found this image, but this is my creative process, right? We get awarded a new building, and I'm just like, oh my God, this is awesome. And then, 1 week, 2 weeks into the project, I'm like, oh, this is a bit tricky. And then it's just like, oh, actually, this is shit. And then in week 6, I am shit, right? For sure, it's me.
Definitely goes there, yep.
And in week 8, you know what? This is kind of okay. Now we are on site, the building is getting built. And then, the client's like, oh, I like that. And you're like, this is awesome. And then you go back to, I am awesome. So that's kind of it, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.